Today's Q&A is brought to you by Brilliant. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Explained Weekly Q&A. I'm Alex.
I'm Molly.
And we're going to be focusing on Star Wars Outlaws today. A couple housekeeping things real quick. First, I think this video is going to be a little bit faster than our Q&As have been, because when you're watching it, we'll be at DragonCon, having a lot of fun. It'll be Saturday in the middle of the day, so I'll be getting ready to moderate the author panel, which I'm still nervous about. But I've prepped for, I got my questions written up.
We'll be chugging coffee and trying to get a quick breakfast in, and
Just trying to impress Timothy Zahn.
hopefully we won't be in shambles yet.
Yeah, not yet. Monday is when we will be on the verge of death. I also wanted to quickly apologize because I didn't get a canon update done. I usually release those around this time, and things have just been so busy with DragonCon. Outlaws just came out. Beware the Nameless just came out. So even some of the big releases that came out right at the end of August, I haven't had a chance to finish them anyway. So maybe I'll do like a big mega canon update for the end of September.
We'll forgive you this time.
Thank you.
But next time,
What's going to happen?
you're out.
I'm out all the way. But yeah, let's go into your Outlaws questions. We took some from Patreon, Twitter, from Instagram. Molly has not played the game yet since it's been released. You played it at the preview event.
I played a little bit of it. I've been watching intently whenever I'm downstairs and you're playing it.
Yeah, I have been hogging it this whole time. I will say we're playing it on PlayStation 5. I am 24 hours in, and it says I'm 85% done with the game, which I'm feeling pretty good about.
Made some big strides here in the past couple days.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I won't get into all this, but I'm not done with the story yet. I'm enjoying the story. Just today, I hit something and I'm like, oh, okay, we're heading towards the end game. But I've been really distracted, like in a good way, with all of the diversions and side quests. So that's what I've been spending a lot of my time on.
I'm going to be asking some questions here since I haven't played much of the game and you have. So, first off, let's start with, is the game worth buying and which edition should people buy?
I think that all comes down to what kind of a gamer you are. If you like open world games and you love Star Wars, I think this is a no-brainer. See, I'm not super into open world games. I haven't played that many of them. I had people asking, how does it compare to this very popular open world game? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say it feels and looks like an Ubisoft game, and I'm like, great, I don't know what that means.
Someone else asked, does it feel like an Ubisoft game? And I'm like, I don't know. The last Ubisoft game I played was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which was great, but it was a platformer.
Yeah.
I know that there's a bit of, like, Assassin's Creed has this tower loop where you get to a new location, you have to climb a tower, then you unlock the map. There's none of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's none of that at all. So I think it feels more like Ghosts of Tsushima, which I did just play because I'd heard it was great and I kind of wanted to prep and get into an open world game mode. And this feels very similar, where the map is just opened up by exploring, basically. So what edition?
So the base game edition is what, $70?
I think so.
USD? And then it gets progressively more expensive according to what?
More DLC and then more just kind of like bonuses. I'm always the kind of person that is going to go base game. So that's what I would recommend, especially if you're on the fence. You can do that. I think you can also sign up for Ubisoft Plus, or they have like not a streaming service, but a subscription model where I think it's like $20 and you can unlock the game and play it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a great option. If
you don't have to pay any extra. You just sign up for like a monthly $20.
I think so. But if you just wanted to, but then you don't like own the game. I don't think you have access to it during that time. Okay. So yeah, I'm always someone who would just buy the base game. And then when DLC comes out, if you want to play more, you have that option. But if it comes out and you're like, I'd kind of moved on to something else, then you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like there's anything like on purchase day that you super are going to want or need in the like other editions. If you just want to check the game out, just go with the basic package.
Yeah, and you can always add more if you're like, I'm having a blast with this and I want more, then you can go that route. But yeah, like there are so many different types of gamers that it's hard for me to just say like, this is an absolute buy across the board for every gamer everywhere and every Star Wars fan. I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would. The more I play it, the more I like it. I'm loving the exploration and stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you like open world games and if you like Star Wars, then I'm confident in saying this is a lot of fun.
So how does Outlaws compare to the Jedi games, which I know you are a huge fan of?
Right. And the person who sent in this question also was like, Jedi Survivor is my favorite Star Wars game. And those Survivor and Fallen Order as a combo are still my favorite Star Wars games. I still haven't finished the Outlaws story, but the Star Wars Jedi story and the characters, I love them to death. I also prefer that gameplay. So is the combat is where it's really, really different. Fighting with a lightsaber. I said this in my review, but if Cal Kestis opens a door and is surprised by 12 stormtroopers pointing their blasters at him, like I would laugh and turn on the double-bladed lightsaber and probably not take any damage.
Because he can deflect bolts and, deflect them back at the enemies. So, yeah, he can walk into a room fairly confidently, depending on what difficulty you're playing, and take care of business.
Right. It's you walk in, it's an action game. There isn't a whole lot of stealth involved in the Star Wars Jedi games. The combat in Outlaws is not like that, and it shouldn't be. So I do appreciate that it's distinct, that, Kay Vess doesn't have a lightsaber. She's not a Force user. She has to sneak around. So stealth-based games aren't my favorite. That's not my favorite kind of like combat, I guess. I'm just not that good at it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like I'm very good at the Jedi style.
Yeah, if you prefer to just run and mow people down, which honestly, that's kind of how I play games sometimes, you might struggle a little bit with the mechanics of the stealthiness of this game.
Yeah, you really need to kind of think about how you approach any encounter. And like every single time I would go through a room and painstakingly take out a bunch of stormtroopers or mess up and have to scramble and escape or shoot my way out, and then I would find I could have just opened this vent and gone past all of that.
Yeah. Do you find that happens in almost every situation where you have to like sneak through a big area with lots of enemies? Is there always another way?
Not always. There's just smart ways that you can deal with the enemies, and I'm not great at picking out the best way to do it.
Yeah.
There have been some times where I'm like, okay, I just rocked that encounter. But really Nyx did all the work. I should say that.
Yeah, Nyx, from what I can tell, does a lot of the work for you in a lot of situations. You can send him out to turn things on and off. You can use him to distract. He can go and jump right on an enemy's head. How has it been utilizing Nyx?
If you played the Star Wars Jedi games, I think you'll kind of be used to having a little buddy to help you out. Nyx is able to do a lot more than BD1 as far as helping you get through things. And yeah, Nyx is awesome. One of my favorite gameplay mechanics, whether he's running off to fetch weapons or, I'm just constantly spamming Nyx to jump on stormtrooper helmets so I can knock them out. Very useful. I need to use Nyx more in distracting cameras and stormtroopers or who are enemies.
Yeah.
I'm more just because I'm not that stealthy. I'm just go attack Nyx and I'll attack the other one.
Nyx is very distracting for me at some points of the game, just because of the adorable little actions that he does. Even if you're just standing around, he'll sometimes just plop down and just look cute.
Since we're talking about Nyx, I'll bring up one question someone asked if there were Nyx mini games. There's nothing I've seen where you can control Nyx yet.
There's like the food stuff, right?
Yeah, the food minigame is actually very charming and very fun. It's low stakes, kind of a quick time event where Kay will share a dish with Nyx.
Yeah.
And that's already like fun and silly, but it will also unlock new abilities for Nyx, which are a lot of fun.
What kind of new abilities?
You
would
can
say?
basically choose a dish. Like, I guess that's what you're regularly feeding him. And then one, instead of just jumping on a stormtrooper's helmet, they will go crazy and like shoot their blaster in every which way.
Oh, interesting.
So it might shoot someone else or shoot an explosive barrel or something.
According to what Nyx is eating?
Yep.
Okay.
It just gives Nyx like a little twist on his already existing abilities. To finish talking about the comparisons to the Star Wars Jedi games, I do think that a lot of the on-foot exploration is fairly similar. Kay is also a very good climber, just like Cal is. There are a lot of tools and gadgets that you need to unlock so you can return and reach new areas. So there is an element of that. The speeder is very different, where you don't have to explore everything on foot or on bird like you can with Cal.
Or other creature.
Right. So the speeder is cool. I think it feels a little slow, a little janky sometimes, but I've been upgrading it, unlocking new stuff, and it's made it a little better.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just hit a bump and I'm like, I go flying and I'm like, that should not have knocked me off there, but for the most part it's fun.
You can also, I'll take this opportunity to say the accessibility options are like really, really great so far from what I've seen. There's tons of different things that you can change in the menus, and I think one of them is like how sensitive the speeder is, and so make sure you go in the menus and just kind of play around with stuff like that if you're finding that you're having a lot of frustration and trouble with something that might easily be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, I have not changed any of the settings. I wanted to just talk about the base game and everything that I did, but I've seen some people online talking about how the blaster fights didn't feel, I guess, as fast and frantic as they wanted. Like, it didn't feel quite like Star Wars where, you know, you just hit a stormtrooper and they go down. So they turned the damage dealt by Kay up on the stormtroopers, but also made it so that Kay took less damage, like, or I guess more damage, and would go down faster.
Okay.
Basically, blaster bolts all around more lethal. And I think that's awesome that you can kind of fine tune the game to what you want it to feel like.
Yeah, you can make the game as easy or difficult, I think, as you may want to. So generally speaking, how would you say the exploration is?
Really good. That's probably my favorite aspect of the game. Just going to all the different planets, and the UI isn't so overwhelming. That's a big thing that has stopped me from getting into some open world games. More, I would say, Bethesda. I always feel like I will start Skyrim or one of the Fallout games, and very quickly I'm like, there's too much to do and I don't know what to do and I can't pick. This is like, it's such a clean UI when you're driving around, where you can stay on target. you can go straight to your next quest goal if you want, but like a little question mark will go by and you're like, I kind of want to see what that is.
What was that?
Yeah, or if you just see something interesting like an abandoned sand crawler on Tatooine, you're like, well, I would like to go investigate that.
There was a point in the preview event where I was just kind of driving the speeder around and we found a spot where you could like race someone. Yeah. And I stopped and I was like, immediately, yes, I want to do this. And that was not only good practice, but it was really fun.
Yeah, I feel like the diversions lead to a lot of fun, rewarding stuff. I've not finished some little mini quest and been like, well, that stunk. There's some really cool, like, you get holo discs, and it's kind of like treasure hunting. That's been one of my favorite things to do, is when you get a new holo disc, go on this treasure hunt from like an old smuggling group and find all their hidden caches.
So far from what I've seen and played too, like just being in all the different environments, they look and feel so good, and like they look exactly how you would think a place like that would look in Star Wars. So I found myself just wandering around slowly, just like taking it all in and looking at all of my surroundings.
Yeah.
Moving on to the characters, does Kay feel like her own character or a more generic scoundrel?
I think she's a little bit of both, and mostly leaning towards she's her own character. She definitely has her own qualities that don't make her like, you know, I like Dash Rendar in Shadows of the Empire, but he was very clearly just Han Solo while Han Solo couldn't be around. Kay feels more distinct than that. Her relationship with Nyx, the way that she grows a relationship with ND5, her naivety, I guess. Like, she doesn't really know what's going on outside of Canto Bight. That's where she grew up. She knows about the criminal syndicates there, but not so much about anything else. So watching her try to bluff her way through situations, it's like she wants to have the confidence of Han Solo, but his is real and hers is like, I'm doing my best.
Yeah, like Han has done the work and kind of knows his surroundings a little bit better.
Well, I would even say that he just thinks so much of himself no matter what. Like, he walks into a job with Crimson Dawn and is like, yeah, I'll handle this, no problem, easy.
Yeah.
And he believes it. Kay will say the same stuff, but you can tell she's like, oh God, what have I gotten myself into?
He's got a little more experience under his belt as a scoundrel, I would say. But I like that Kay has this like blind courage about her where she is willing to go into almost any situation courageously. But yeah, she's also got this timid part of her that is kind of like, ooh, am I doing this right?
And I think that part of the story is about her quest for freedom and what does freedom really mean. And I don't want to get too much into spoilery story details, but I've enjoyed that aspect of her exploring all of that. But I will say that there's like a hint of generic scoundrel to her in the sense that we, the player, need to have a little of agency. Like, there are decisions to be made about whether you're going to bribe the Empire or not do that and just let them be mad at you. And there have been times where I'm like, I think my version of Kay would do this, where someone else is going to be like, my version of Kay would shoot that person in the face or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I think we're all going to play Kay a little differently. So, you know, video game characters just have this middle ground where like, that's definitely Cal Kestis, but there's also what I bring to Cal Kestis or whatever.
Yeah. And I think all of that does a great job at making you feel more connected to Kay. You're both kind of learning the ropes as you go throughout this game, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break from answering questions about Star Wars to tell you how you can best learn about other topics using Brilliant. Brilliant is where you can learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and more. They help you learn new skills from the ground up. Lessons are filled with hands-on problem solving that let you play with concepts, which has been proven to be 6 times more effective than simply watching lecture videos. All of Brilliant's lessons are created by award-winning teachers, researchers, and professionals from MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more. They help you build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, giving you actual experience on specific topics. Brilliant helps you build your knowledge in minutes every day with fun lessons you can do whenever you have time. If you've ever wanted to learn to understand social media trends better, Brilliant recently launched new content all about data. You can learn to make better decisions by studying real data sets from sources like X and Spotify. As a YouTuber, gaining a better understanding of data is always helpful. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/Star Wars Explained or click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off of an annual premium subscription.
Let's go over some favorites real quick. What has been your favorite planet so far?
I think it's been Kajimi, actually, which surprises me just because it's, I think, the smallest map. But there's something about exploring that place that it's the biggest city, I guess. Everywhere else is more spread out. Obviously, you have Tatooine, which is just like the Dune Sea, and Akiva has a bunch of swamps and stuff. So I'm glad that there is just a city to explore.
Yeah.
And I feel a little more like Cloak and Dagger in there. I like the syndicate battling that's happening there.
It's nice to just be able to maybe not completely open world explore, but still open explore a sequel trilogy planet. There's something satisfying about that.
I think it was a good choice to. They've made some very good choices with characters, planets, syndicates, and we'll talk about syndicates in a bit. But the planets being like, obviously you have to go to Tatooine, and obviously you're going to see a lot of familiar locations there.
Yeah, that's like the base of the Hutt cartel, right?
Right. Well, technically Nal Hutta is, and I want to talk about other planets.
Okay, well,
in a little
Jabba
bit.
then.
Yeah, but like, if you're gonna go to a Hutt place, it's gonna be Tatooine.
Can you go to Nal Hutta?
Not yet. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
We'll talk about DLC and just potential hopes and futures. So then you have Akiva, which is a book planet, which it's fun to see something familiar, but also we haven't seen it depicted before. Kajimi, also familiar, but we were just barely there in The Rise of Skywalker, and then it was blown up. And then Tashara is like a fully brand new planet that they got to create themselves. So there's a good mix of brand new and also completely familiar in there.
You mentioned syndicates. Do you have a favorite syndicate? I think we've talked about this a lot. This is like almost everyone we've spoken to or people I've seen online playing the game. I think everybody is a big fan of Crimson Dawn.
Like, why would you not hitch your wagon to them right now? Well, if you've read the comics, you might not want to, but yes.
No one likes the Pikes.
Yeah, okay. Honestly, right now, at my point in the game, I have an excellent reputation with 3 of the syndicates and the worst reputation you can have with the Pikes. So the Hutts love me, Ashiga loves me, Crimson Dawn loves me. The Pikes hate me and actively are sending death squads after me. And I might be at a point in the game where I don't know if I can fix that, and I don't really care.
Yeah, I think you guys just gotta like accept it at some point and say, well, if I want to keep these other relationships as high as they are, one of them's got to go.
And I will say, maybe don't do that. Like, it has
Don't
made...
put all your eggs in 3 baskets.
Well, just, like, you can have a good reputation. I mean, you can probably even have excellent reputations with... I just betrayed the Pikes at every turn and laughed about it. Look, they...
With a smile on your face.
They killed Boba's Tusken tribe. They had Cobb Vanth shot. They are not getting my loyalty.
Yeah.
But when you get a terrible reputation with a syndicate, they send death squads after you.
Like at any place that you are, any planet?
They just kind of pop up. They haven't really on Kajimi. It's more when you're on your speeder going around. They'll just be like, there she is, get her.
Oh no.
Like they are actively hunting you.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I can get out of that low of a reputation at this point, because some of the quests, contracts you can take, you have to have at least a good relationship with them, and that's not happening. But yeah, Crimson Dawn has been my go-to if I have to pit like the Hutts or Ashiga against Crimson Dawn. I serve Lady Kira.
So as far as syndicates go, are you happy with the syndicates that were chosen to be a part of this game?
I still wish Black Sun were part of it. If I could have swapped one out, I would get rid of the Pikes and have Black Sun.
No.
Yeah. Really, I wish that they were there in addition to. So kind of like the planets, they made some good choices, I think, because if you're going to tell it in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Crimson Dawn has to be there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're telling a criminal story, the Hutts have to be there. Like, those, to me, are non-negotiable. I think it's fair for the creators to want to make their own new syndicate, and I like the Ashiga clan. They're kind of weird and creepy, but...
They're the hive mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed working with them more than I thought I would. I was kind of not expecting that I'd want to have an excellent reputation with them, but here I am. The Pikes, I do think that it seems like everyone, I mean, I said it in my Everything You Need to Know video, but f*** the Pikes. Like, they're responsible for Cobb Vanth being shot, and that will not stand. So it is kind of nice to have a syndicate that everyone across the board seems to hate. But, Black Sun was one of the other big syndicates from Legends. We don't know that much about them in canon, so it would have been nice to have them come back in a video game all about syndicates. So I wish they were there. Yeah. But they have been referenced. I'll say that. Black Sun is referenced. The Spice Runners of Kajimi were referenced. The Sixth Kin is in it. And those Spice Runners and Sixth Kin, I was like, they probably won't be in this story at all. So I was very pleasantly surprised that they are around.
Speaking of connections to other things, have there been any references to the comics so far? You mentioned Crimson Dawn.
Yes, heavy connection to the comics. When this game was announced and they said it was the time period between Empire and Return of the Jedi, I was like, I hope this is about the War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign and the Hidden Empire. And it is. It's not super directly where Kay is involved with the Fermata Cage and all the heavy plot of the comics, but the Syndicate War is in full swing. Everything surrounding Kira, that comes up a lot. So Kay, she, like we said, she's naive. She doesn't know what's happening and how she is playing into Kira's hand and everything that's going on. But yeah, there have been some really solid comic connections to the point where I've thrown my hands up into the air oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that, including the Sixth Kin.
It will be rewarding to those who will get the references, but not confusing to those who may not have read those comics.
Yes.
Okay.
It feels I don't know if they have or not, but it feels like they worked with Charles Soule, or at least read the comics. At this point, the comics have shaped what this time period looks like.
We can ask him at DragonCon.
Yeah, I probably will. But those comics have shaped this point in the timeline, and I feel like they came in and they were like, what's going on, and how do we best respect all of that and keep our story in line with it? And I think they nailed it.
We love covering Easter egg videos here on the channel, so what's been the best Easter egg so far?
There was something in Jabba's palace that made me laugh out loud. It was a reference to one of the Tales from Vader's Castle comics. I can't remember which specific series or issue, but it's a reference to Jabba's cousin, Kraka the Hutt, who is in one of those stories. And that is such a deep cut pull that I wouldn't have expected that they'd put that in there, and that was just super fun.
Cool.
That's probably been my favorite, very small one that I found, and it was something that I had to go out of my way to find it, and I just stumbled upon it and was like, that's fantastic. So it felt like a true Easter egg and just was very deep. So but there have been several other good options.
I know there's a High Republic ship at one point that you can kind of explore, and there's a little data log that mentions the Nile. Have there been any other High Republic connections?
I don't think so. I think that was the big one. Nothing else comes to mind, but I have been taking some notes. There are a handful of familiar characters that continue to pop up that made me really happy. But I don't want to spoil those. They're deeper into the game.
Going from Easter eggs to Glup Shittos, our other favorite topic to talk about, is there a Glup Shitto as good as Turgle?
Right now, I think I have to say no, because Turgle
can't be beat.
Turgle is so weird and funny, and people latched onto him so much. I think that Outlaws has been just a little more grounded with its characters. The one I would say comes closest is a Chadra fan called Ank. They're an explosives expert, and they're a lot of fun to be around and do missions with, but no one just as downright weird as Turgle.
Yeah. I feel like you come into contact with a lot of different people and characters and Outlaws versus the Jedi games. There are certain areas where you can go and talk to a lot of different characters, but a lot of it is just you and BD1 kind of out on your own, or like you and BD1 and Marin. So I feel like because of that, Turgle stands out even more.
I think that's a great point. I said this in my review, but the Star Wars Jedi games, as much as I loved them, I did wish that there were more urban environments. And even when you're on Coruscant at the start of Survivor, it feels kind of empty. Like you're just running into stormtroopers.
Yeah, it's nothing like the open worldness of Outlaws.
Yeah. So I love that you're able to walk around all of these planets, and all the cities are full of people, and they're like walking. You got to move out of their way, because they're on a mission. They're going somewhere else, and
you will run into people on your speeder. Others people on speeders.
Yeah, like
and they'll
traffic.
Yell at you.
Traffic on all these places is insane.
It
like,
reminds me.
No one knows how to drive.
It reminds me of Attack of the Clones when Anakin and Obi-Wan are like weaving through traffic.
Yeah, it's very much like that. So I love how crowded, how lived in all of the cities and markets feel. But yeah, since there aren't as many villagers or city dwellers in Star Wars Jedi, I feel like they had more freedom to really make some weird characters, because they wanted those side characters to stand out even more.
I did see several people on Twitter asking about this yesterday, and I answered a couple of them just as best as I knew or could. Is there any queer representation, especially since Amarili Gonzalez is queer?
There is queer representation, and I would say that there is some for Kay specifically. There was actually a new character today that I met that I feel like Kay was flirting with. There's a speeder mechanic that they were definitely flirting.
I remember that part.
Yeah, so I do think that there is some hints to Kay's character, but as far as the story goes, they haven't really like solidified anything. And there's definitely a Crimson Dawn mission where a man sends Kay to save his boyfriend. So there is some representation, but I wouldn't call it front and center.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's story centric.
Right.
But it's just there in the universe like it does. All right, let's get back to the very important Nyx and other creature questions. Are there pettable animals?
Yes, several.
Lots of them, yeah.
You can pet Nyx. There's a bunch on Tashara. There's some on every planet.
I found a couple immediately just in the short time that I played, and I was just like, what can I pet? So I think we covered most of the big questions that we were asked. So overall, what planets, characters, or factions do you hope to see in future DLC?
Already brought them up, but Black Sun would be amazing. I don't think it would be a simple matter of like adding them as a new whole faction. I also don't think it would make sense for the game, especially if someone beats it, 100%s it, and then all of a sudden there's a new faction. It's like that doesn't really work to get a new reputation.
Yeah.
But
you would have to like basically play the whole game over again if they just added a new faction.
Which if they did that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would play it again. But if instead it was just someone sends you on a mission to Mustafar and you have to break into one of their strongholds, and yeah, there's a bunch of Black Sun people around, bunch of Falleen, I think that would be really cool. So I do think there's a way they could work Black Sun in. As far as characters, do you have any ideas? We already know Hondo is gonna show up.
What about Dr. Aphra?
Dr. Aphra would be super fun.
Would that work timeline wise?
Yes.
Okay.
She's around. Also another character that could flirt with Kay.
She feels like that could introduce a lot of fun storylines, do like a couple of little side missions, because she's just like such a chaotic character.
Not to mention the treasure hunting aspect that is part of this game. Yeah, Aphra would be a great addition. And how connected this game already is to the comics, that feels fairly natural. You threw out the idea of having more dedicated Nyx gameplay.
Yeah, I said that I wanted DLC of you being able to play as Nyx and do like little mini games.
And would Kay still be around? Would you send Kay to fetch things for Nyx?
Maybe.
instead of vice versa.
Or it would
Like,
be
it
like...
could just be like, Nyx's day off.
Or it would be like Kay sits down to play Sabacc and Nyx goes off and does whatever.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I think that'd be fun. Since you brought up Sabacc, haven't mentioned that at all. I really like playing their version. It's Kessel Sabacc in this game, and it's very fun. I usually don't get lost playing Pazak or whatever in KOTOR, but there are quests that involve Sabacc in this. They do a good job of setting up quests that let you experience all of the different diversions, and the Sabacc stuff I've really enjoyed.
To wrap up, are we going to stream the game?
I think so. I'm not sure yet, because I want to play it just on my own first, and I'm almost done with the story, and I'll probably just keep on. I'm enjoying it just as a fan right now, and not as like a content creator outside of doing stuff like this. And I will review the story once I'm done with it. Probably do an Easter egg video of some sort. I do think it would be fun to just stream and explore and stuff. Maybe you want to go through the story. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we would stream it like we normally did the other games, just because it's so open world that, you know, it would be hard to kind of like stay on track. But maybe after we both play the game a while and kind of get a feel for what it's like, we can choose certain areas to stream.
Yeah. I guess like I'm just not in a huge rush to stream it because I'm enjoying it so much just for me right now. But once I'm done with that, we'll probably do something.
Yeah. There are a ton of other creators out there streaming it currently. So
Battlefront updates, Ruthless Night Sister, Bombastic, Andy Reloads,
Kyle Katarn,
Sammy Boy,
yeah, there's
True.
There's lots of cool other Twitch streamers and YouTubers playing the game.
Yeah. But that's all the time for questions we have today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.